Grace, growth, and gratitude. The path to happiness through acts of appreciation and expression of thanks.
Welcome to Grace, Growth, and Gratitude. My name is Kenya Vance, and I am your host today. And I am with Dr. Blair Hall-Hayes to discuss Grace, Growth, and Gratitude. Welcome, Blair.
Thank you so much, Kenya.
Good to see you. How have you been? It's been such a long time.
Yeah, things are good. Been busy, obviously, writing a book and trying to get the word out there about the book. But, it's great to have a friend to share some of my thoughts about this with.
Good. How's the family? How's the wife and 2 boys?
Everybody's doing very well.
Good.
Busy as ever.
Yeah, I bet they're growing. It's been such a long time since I've seen them. I know they were small, so I know they're getting very big now.
They are huge. So 12 and 9.
Right.
And obviously my wife Serena's doing very well.
Wonderful.
So they're very excited about this conversation. And
Yes.
obviously, as you know, big supporters of the book. And so I was laughing with my youngest the other day when I looked into his backpack, and he had a copy of the book that he was bringing to school on that day. So
I love
they're big
it.
supporters and really happy that we're having this conversation.
He's proud of his daddy.
Yes.
Well, again, thank you for being here. And we're going to get into the book. But before we do so, we want to first learn about you. So tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Sure. So my background is in psychology. I'm trained as a social organizational psychologist. And the past 15, 20 years almost, I've been working as a diversity officer. And so working in the field of group dynamics and bringing people together. And so that's what's been the day job. And then outside of that, most importantly, as we mentioned, as a husband and a father. So
Right.
Whether it's coaching basketball or getting kids to and from various activities, that's the most important part of my day.
Yes. Life does get busy after a while, doesn't it?
Yes.
So what made you want to write a book about gratitude?
So I think, as I mentioned, I had the day job, and I spent most of my time working and supporting other people and thinking about the field of diversity. But there was another part of me that I was interested in sharing with the world. And so as we were going through various things over the past few years, whether it was during COVID or getting out of COVID, it became more important to think about the positive things we had going on in the world. And so I felt like a conversation about gratitude was something that I could impart into the world and share with others. And the more that I looked for gratitude in my own world, the more I was seeing it. And I felt like being able to share that might be able to help others also see gratitude in their day-to-day life, figure out how to be appreciative for things big and small that they were experiencing, and sometimes the things that we overlook. And so it came to be more of a habit that I formed in myself, and I wanted to see if I could help other people also tap into that.
Yeah, and that's my thing too also about that is the timing with this. And so like you said, I know you're busy, coaching, dad, husband, and all of your other things that you're doing. So what made now like a good time? Did you feel like this was really the need to write a book like this now? Or is this something you had really been working on for a while? Or did you feel like now was just a good time to do this?
I always felt like we all have something to say and all have something to share with the world.
Right.
And I felt like I wasn't using my voice to its fullest capabilities. And I didn't know what I wanted to say, but I knew I wanted to say more. And so gratitude just came to me. It kind of found me in a way. And so I didn't know what it was going to be until I sat down and was thinking about what I was experiencing in my life. And it would be the smallest thing that I was thankful for in a day. And the more I honed in on it, the next day I was seeing other things that I was thankful for. And so the more that I was tapping into it, the more I just felt I was surrounded by gratitude. And I felt that was not coincidental. And I felt like if I could capture that and kind of bottle it in, for lack of a better word, there was something that I could share with others. And it's been a great journey and something that it's a fun thing to think about. And it's something that it's such a positive in my own world, and I think it's a positive that we all need to be embracing. And so that was my goal, to be, as I mentioned in the book, a gratitude guide, and helping other people on their own journey of gratitude.
Right. Well, you talked about just now the gratitude. How did you come up with the actual title of Grace, Growth, and Gratitude? In my head, I call it like the 3 Gs, but I really like the book. It's a powerful title, and how did you come up with that actual title for the book?
So one of the things, as I was thinking about how to frame the book, I knew that there was a spiritual component to what I was experiencing as I was going through the gratitude. And so that's the grace piece to me. Gratitude is the action. How are you showing appreciation? And the growth is the personal development and the personal development that I felt like I needed, but also how to divide it up in different ways, to chunk it. And you know, one of the things that was really important to me was when I talk about the grace piece, because my grandmother's name, my maternal grandmother's name is Grace. And I never met her. She passed before I was born. Passed when my mother was very young. But in my own world, I was experiencing this grace every day. And I didn't know what it was and where it was coming from, but I always felt like I had this spirit, this support system that was guiding me. And so that was the grace that I was always feeling. And I knew that when I was putting together this book, that there was more to it beyond myself. And so grace was always going to be a part of the title. And the 3 G's kind of came together, obviously. You know, it's the growth, it's the grace, it's growth, and all of this is centered on gratitude.
I love that. Okay. And so with that, the grace, growth, and the gratitude, the book is broken into the 3 sections. Of course, the grace section, the growth, and the gratitude. Can you give us like a brief overview of those sections of your book?
Sure. So in the first section is the grace piece. And again, it's tapping into those spiritual elements of ourselves. But also going back to what I mentioned about my grandmother, it's about giving thanks for what our ancestors have instilled in us and have given us and have instilled in us, even whether we knew it or not, right? And just thinking about what would they say when they looked at us now. You know, there's a saying that says, you know, I am my ancestors' wildest dreams, right? And I know that those individuals who came before us would be amazed not only that, you know, that I wrote a book, but that I'm here sharing it with you, sharing it with the world, right. But also all the other things that we do in our day-to-day lives. And so the grace piece is really about tapping into the spiritual elements of ourselves, and giving thanks to those people in our lives who have guided us. The growth piece is the professional development and spiritual development, physical development, mental development, but what are we doing to further ourselves? As I mentioned, I think we all have more to share,
Yes.
And sometimes we get stuck. And so the growth piece is what are we doing to move beyond just the where we are at that current moment. The smallest thing can guide us further. And so that's the growth piece. And the gratitude is really just, was so thankful. And the way that I found opportunities to share my appreciation with others, trying to capture that, and again, guide other people on that journey of gratitude, was really what I was trying to do. And so that last part is really about me having an opportunity to give thanks to those around me, but also giving people the tools and skills to take their gratitude further as well.
Well, I love the book because like what you were saying, it made me think about some of the things, actually, even when I was reading it, some of the things that you were saying in the book are things that, yes, we do know some of those things, but I feel like we forget. Right. You know, with the day-to-day life that we live, we get busy and sometimes we can get stuck, or sometimes we don't think to reflect on certain things, or we don't think about growing, to continuing to grow, or to stop and to give that gratitude and the reflection. So I think this book is just really a good tool to have to just remind us of like where we come from and where we need to aspire to be, and then also to give that gratitude along the way. So it was really a great read for me. So also I want to talk about in the book, you were talking about that there's a difference between being happy and having gratitude. Expound on that a little bit more, the difference between those two.
So a big part of the book is about happiness too, and about pursuing your own happiness. And you know, there's a story I share in the book about what my friends and I, when we were in college, we termed the be happy philosophy, right? And trying to take time out of our day at every moment just to figure out what can I be happy for in this moment, right? It could be a rainy day, a cloudy day, you're stuck in traffic, but there has to be something that we can still tap into and be happy for.
Right.
And so the happiness, that be happy philosophy, is really an internal reflection, an internal feeling that you can have about what's going on in your world. the gratitude piece is about what are you giving to others. And so that's the way what I think about it, is that when I'm thinking about my own happiness, it is my own internal review of my own emotional state, tapping into those things that I need in my world that keep me balanced, keep me at peace. But the gratitude is really about what am I giving to others? Because, one of the things as I was trying to understand what was happening as I was embracing this gratitude and this experience of gratitude was that I always was trying to think about what could I give back to people, right? And so, if somebody gives me a gift, I was stuck in this place where I have to give them a gift of equal value, right? To really show how much I appreciated it, right?
Exactly.
But that's not what it's always about, right? I mean, sometimes people just want a call to say thank you. And, I've been very lucky to have very generous people in my life who've bestowed wonderful gifts or taken me on trips, right? And I wasn't at a point in my life where I could say, well, you've taken me on this trip, I'm going to take you on a trip, right? Because but it's not the financial isn't what people
You don't
want.
have to match the gift.
It's not a matching game, right? It's more about I've received this and it was important to me, and I want to show you why it was important to me and show you why you're important to me. Right. And so that's the reciprocation that I think that was really important to give to one another. And so I think that was the piece that I was struggling with at first, because I didn't know how to give back. And when you're stuck in that space, sometimes you don't do anything, right? Because you say, I can't match what you've done, so I'll just hold on to this, and maybe in the future I'll have an opportunity to return the favor in that way.
Oh, maybe what about fear, like if you feel like, okay, I need to reciprocate, but was that enough? Did that match what they did? They did this, and I did this for them, but was that enough?
Right. Or did I take too long?
Yeah, did I take too long? Right. Or how do they feel about that? Yeah, right. I definitely understand that. So.
We were talking about weddings before we got started, and one of the things that people always talk about is, after wedding, you have six months to return, a thank you note.
Right.
But sometimes people get to that 6 months like it's been too long.
Right.
Maybe I shouldn't even say anything now, because now it's embarrassing.
Exactly. Hold that thought for one moment. We're going to come back and continue to talk about the thanks. We need to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Grace, Growth, and Gratitude. Thanking out loud.
Thinking out loud.
Thanking out loud.
What are you talking about?
Thanking out loud. Grace, growth, and gratitude.
I get it. Thanking out loud.
Grace, growth, and gratitude.
Welcome back to Grace, Growth, and Gratitude. My name is Kenya Vance, and I am here with Dr. Blair Hall Hayes. So Blair, before the break, we were talking about the thank you. Yes. And I know that in your book, you referenced the thank you almost being like a lost art now. Mm-hmm. And you did mention that there's a difference between a thank you note and a thank you text. Right. And so what's the difference with that? Because isn't a thank you a thank you?
You would think so, but to me, a text message is very fleeting, but when you go to the mailbox and you have a thank you note that someone has taken the time to sit down and handwrite or type out, yes, put in an envelope, put in a stamp, and mail out to you. I mean, that is a certain amount of effort that someone is taking out of their day, more so than an emoji, right? Or a quick text that is gone in an instant. Right. But that thank you note, once again, you are excited to receive it, but it's sitting there in a physical form that you can come back to it. You are reminded of it when you go back to it the next day. And I think it is just the intentional act of giving gratitude in that way that is different. Not to say that a thank you text is not important or is not nice to receive as well, but I think it takes it to another level when we are taking that time and the physical act of giving somebody something in that way. And we don't do it enough anymore. I think when we were growing up, that your parents always said, go over there and say thank you to this person, right?
Exactly.
And now we don't even do that as much anymore, right? Exactly. And I think taking a step back and getting back to that sort of interaction, I think people appreciate it and appreciate it more than they even think they will. Mm-hmm. But it's just that intentional act is really important.
I'm glad you said that, because that is so true. But I find, and tell me if you agree with me on this, but I find that the younger generation,
Yeah.
everything is the thank you text.
Right.
You know, for them, okay, well, you know, I'm going to send a text thank you. But I feel like those of us who are more mature and
Right.
even the elderly, they appreciate taking that time to write a thank you note to
Right.
send to them, like you were saying. And so, you know, I do feel like it's kind of becoming like a lost art, because I guess as we evolve in our generation and we're in the digital age, everything is email, text, it's thank you. But I think that, you know, we should not let that go too far away.
We can bring it
because,
back.
you know, I
Yes.
even know that with my daughter, if someone does something for her, and sometimes, you know, it depends on who it is. If it's one of her like school friends or things like that, she'll say thank you, you know, maybe a text. But if it's an adult, I make sure that she writes them a note.
Right.
Because I know how it's important, and it shows like you took the time to actually write me a note to say thank you.
Right.
So I'm actually glad that you did talk about that, because I feel like that's still very much important.
Very much so.
Very intentional also.
Right. And getting the kids to stop sometimes and say,
Yeah.
at least give a call, right?
Yeah.
Call your aunt, call your grandmother, and give them the time to talk to them and tell them how they have influenced you or how they've impacted you by this gift that they've given to you
Yes.
or this thing they've done for you.
Yes.
And, you know, to pause, right? I think that's what we're also talking about.
Yes.
We're always in this fast-moving cycle, in this fast-moving world, that just pausing, either to write a thank you note or to call somebody and say thank you, people understand what that means.
Yes.
You know, because it means you are really taking the time out to give back to them, and that intentional act of gratitude is not lost.
Yes, definitely. I agree with that 100%. I want to go back to something we were talking about, and I think you were saying that when you were in college and you and your friends, you all had your group that, you know, you all made sure you gave thanks.
Yes.
And you were accountable to each other to make sure that you saw the thankfulness in everything. And how as you know, got older, mature, you know, married and further in life, it wasn't maybe so easy, and you actually credit your wife with helping you to understand that you need to feel all feelings, not just the thankfulness, you know, the gratitude, but all of the feelings. Tell me a little bit more about that, and how did she help you with that?
Yeah, you know, the be happy philosophy, or focusing on happiness, it's a positive. It sounds positive, right? And it is positive. But I think one of the things that we were doing, we were focusing on happiness at the expense of the other emotions that are also part of everybody's world. Like, we're all human, right? We all experience multiple things in our lives. And so to only give voice to those things that make us happy, don't acknowledge the other parts of ourselves as well. And so, you know, my wife Serena would say, you know, I'm glad you're happy, but how are you really feeling otherwise, right? And it takes being honest with yourself and honest with those people that love you to say, well, sometimes I'm not always happy, and that's why I need to spend the time to be conscious about what's going to make me happy, because maybe I'm at a lower point. But if you're not able to admit that,
Right.
then you are not feeling all of the emotions, right? And so happiness, there's another side of happiness, right? And the sadness. And it's natural to feel sadness, but if you can't put a voice to what's the sadness, how do you know what happy is, right? There's two sides of every coin. And so she was able to tell me that, you know, if you're able to tap into these other emotions, your happiness will feel stronger.
Yes.
Your happiness will feel better, and you'll be able to vocalize all of the emotions. And, you know, you get a deeper understanding and a deeper connection with those people who you want to understand you, right? But if you're only showing these happy feelings, you're only showing these positive feelings, then there's a whole part of yourself that you're not being honest with yourself, but also with those people that love you.
That's
and
true.
she was like, I want to know all of you,
That's
right?
true.
So tell me all the things, right?
Because it happens to all of us, you
Right,
know.
yep.
You know, we're not always happy, and so I understand that, and I know that sometimes people they may not know how to actually deal with the other feelings, because happiness is easy,
Right,
you know.
right, yeah.
But when it comes time to act, like you were saying, to actually deal with those other feelings or process it, sometimes people might not know, so they may push it aside or act like it doesn't exist because they don't know how to go through it, they don't know how to feel it.
Right.
And so, you know, I'm glad good job, sir. I'm glad.
Thanks to her.
I know,
sure.
right? You know, and you know, that's important. So I like that. So I want to talk about something else in your book. You were talking about habits. And so you were talking about being authentically you and who you are. And you're practicing like courageous consistency. You know, it's good to be consistent. You know what to expect, and people can depend on you. And when you're being courageous, you're standing firm on what you believe. But sometimes there comes a time where you have habits that you feel like we need to switch habits and we need to change habits. So tell me a little bit more about that, and when do you feel like we should like change our habits?
It's obviously an individual experience, right? But I think we can all find times where maybe we are stuck in a rut, or we are experiencing things that aren't conducive to bettering ourselves or bettering others. One of the things when we talk about, as a psychologist, we talk a lot about like the brain is like a muscle, right? And if we get stuck in repetitive thinking or thinking about certain things over and over again, those things will keep replicating themselves. And so the courageous consistency, one, it's being courageous to ourselves, right? And taking the time to say, this is what I want to give to the world. This is what I want to think about, even the thoughts that I want to be focusing on. And I know one of the things that we'll talk about a little bit about is about the importance of kind of affirming those things to ourselves.
Right.
But taking the time to think about what are those thoughts that we're repeating? How do I break out of that negative cycle? How do I focus on those positive things that will serve me, right? And how do I get those things to become the habit that not only is beneficial for myself, but beneficial for those around me? It's very easy to get stuck in a rut.
Yes.
It's very easy to get stuck into the negative thoughts that can overtake us,
Yes.
right, if we let them.
Yes.
And so we need to kind of break out, and then once we break out, we need to repeat it. And then it becomes a habit that we can form, and it gets stuck. And it almost, it can form, we talk about forming a new crease in our brain, those folds in our brain. Like create a new one, right? Create one that is filled with the positive, the happy, the gratitude, those thankful things. And then hopefully those will be the things that we see more in our day-to-day.
Right. It's not all habits are good habits.
No, that's true. That's true.
Not all habits are good habits.
No.
That's true. And if you keep practicing the same bad habits, you'll keep getting the same bad results. So
Right. Exactly.
Definitely. And you did touch upon that briefly about affirming. And I know that you were big on, having these positive affirmations that we say to ourselves. And do you have any positive affirmations that you would like to share with us? Or are there any personal ones that you use, or any that you'd like to share with us that we should be using?
Sure. Yeah, I have many that I use depending on what's going on in my day or week or whatever it might be. One that I really like and that I use a lot is, what is meant for me won't miss me, right? And because oftentimes there are things that happen in our world that are out of our control, right? And you might be waiting for that job promotion, you might be waiting for a new job, you might be waiting for a new opportunity in your world, and it doesn't come. And when I tell myself what is meant for me won't miss me, that wasn't meant for me to be. That wasn't meant for me.
Yes.
But when the right thing comes, that's going to fulfill me and is going to be filling to my spirit, I'll receive it and it'll be there for me. And so, instead of being sad or down that the thing didn't happen the way that I initially thought, then I know that wasn't the right one, because the one that is right for me, that is going to be better for me and my family, is coming down the pipe. Another one that I like, and going to the gratitude, is I'm thankful for things that are yet to come, because I need to prepare myself to receive those things when they come, and thank the energy that's going to bring those things into my world. And both of those things are somewhat tied together, but it's about being thankful for the past, but also thankful for the future, because I know there's good things ahead.
Wow, I should have had my pen. I feel like I wanted to write some of those down. So we're actually running low on time, but to close this out, what is it that you want the reader or the audience to glean from your book? What do you want the big takeaway to be from your book, Grace, Growth, and Gratitude?
I hope that everyone, one, will take the time, as you said, to take a break from their day, reach out to someone who they haven't spoken to in a while, and say thank you. Thankful for being a part of my world, thankful for contributing to my life in some way. And I hope that they will continue just to find those things, both big and small, in their day-to-day lives that they can give thanks for. And I think that's a start.
Yes, yes, that's very, very important. I definitely agree with you on that one. Well, Blair, I thank you so much for being with us here today to discuss your book. As I said, as I told you, I really do love the book. It has a lot of things in there that like a guide that helps you just throughout your life, throughout your day. And I know for myself, I have here a lot of, as you can see, I have a little dividers in here, and I have highlights and everything in there for me. And I know that it's been even a source for me for my day to day, just to remember to give that grace and that growth and that gratitude. So thank you so much again for being here. And I want to thank you all also for being here with us. And if you have a story that you would like to share or more information about today's story, or if you want to get more information about the book, send us an email to thankyou@thankingoutloud.com. Thank you for being here, and please remember to think out loud. Thank you so much, and join us next time for Grace, Growth, and Gratitude. And I've been your host, Kenya Vance.